Did you know that every person you meet has two lighthouses? What do you mean, two lighthouses? Yes, the seen and the unseen. Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, the voice of reason. I have a new book called The Shrouded Lighthouse, How to Uncover the Silver Lining in Every Situation Shift. I delve deep into the inner work that needs to be done in order to mature spiritually. Now, this book is the follow-up to my 2019 release, The Holographic Relationship. In this book, I will talk about the two lighthouses. Go to my website right now to pre-order. The pre-order link is theshroudedlighthouse.com. The first 500 people to do so, you will get an autographed copy. Thank you all for supporting my work. We're about to change the game with this book. I appreciate you guys for always supporting the work that I do. I look forward to getting your feedback on this new book. Thank you.
Don't be this guy. Raise your drive and libido. It's time to man up with X-Wolf. Boost your testosterone levels to help decrease your body fat percentage and increase lean muscle mass gains. Boost your stamina and blood flow for those tough workouts. And these workouts also. Go to xlabsubs.com to find out more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Zolo Mansions show. We're going to have an amazing show for you today. As you saw in the commercials leading up to the community empowerment, you saw X-Wolf, right? Black-owned business, X-Wolf testosterone booster. Please support that company at xlabsubs.com. That's xlabsubps.com. xlabsubs. Tell them Zoe Williams sent you. Very good product. I use it myself. Also, you saw a new company that I will be promoting. It's a coffee company, and I want to make sure that you guys actually support them. Very important that we stay locked in to black-owned businesses. Very important that we support, and the famous wording is cash mob all of the black-owned businesses that you see promoted here in front of you. Let me just pull this up really quickly because I want to get their name right. Sorry. Sarah, I thought I sent you the notes on this.
Which one? The writer's spot?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I can't get to that screen right now.
It's all right. I'll find them in my email, and then we're good. Writers Pause Coffee. Please support this black-owned business. Go to writerspause.com. Writer's Pause Coffee is a high-end coffee delivered directly to your home. Hey, that's pretty smart. Like Uber coffee. Huh. That's pretty smart, right? Delivered directly to your home. Our specific or our specialty coffee and sustainably sourced, and the coffee beans are only roasted after you've placed your order. Plus, our coffee roasters are here in America. No matter how you prefer to prepare your coffee, Writer's Pause has the right drip for a coffee shop experience in the comfort of your own home. Go to writerspause.com or follow us on Instagram at writerspause. Listen. Go there right now. Let's move right now. Go to their Instagram right now at Writers Pause on Instagram. Tell them you saw them on the Zolo Mansions show. Go support them ASAP. New black-owned business, Writers Pause Company. Support, support, support. Let's get them right now. CMOSbusiness.com. If you're looking to set up your own micro business and buy CMOS directly from St. Lucia wholesale, go to CMOSbusiness.com. Call their hotline number right now, 1-800-298-8513. That's 1-800-298-8513. They sell wholesale CMOS. Now, I don't have to tell you about CMOS. All the trace minerals that it has, all the health benefits that it has. You should definitely get some CMOS, especially during the time of COVID. Trust me, the better we take care of ourselves, the less dependent we'll be on some vaccine that they say is 98% effective after only 9 months of research. Okay. CMOSbusiness.com. Call 1-800-298-8513. Also, Total Package Energy. You know I support this brand big time. Black-owned business out of Oakland. They've got clean protein here. This is pea protein, right? It is unflavored. There are no sugars added. There's no sugar in this. It's gluten-free, it's soy-free, it's vegan. If you want to put some protein in a protein shake, in some oatmeal, or whatever you use it for, 20 grams of protein. This is pea protein, the vegetable. Please support, support, support this black-owned business. And of course, I'm always on this. They have vitamin C and they have B12 shots that uses nanotechnology. You put it under your tongue, it gets directly into your bloodstream. It is 8 times more absorbent than tablets. So it absorbs into your bloodstream and into your body very, very quickly. Go support Total Package Energy. They have an energy shot. They have a vitamin C shot, and we all know the importance of vitamin C during COVID. Go get it now. These are black-owned businesses I'm putting directly in front of you. Cash Mob, Cash Mob, Cash Mob. Go to TotalPackageEnergy.com. Tell them Zoe Williams sent you. Of course, I'm broadcasting live from Inglewood at OneStream TV. Please continue to support this brand as well. And then, of course, there are my books. The Relationship Dismount. How to Stick the Landing When Exiting a Toxic Relationship. Available on Amazon in 3 different formats: Kindle, paperback, and Audible. So the people who reach out and say, Zoe, can you autograph my copy of The Relationship Dismount if I purchase it from Amazon? Unfortunately, no, because Amazon is in control of the printing and the mailing of The Relationship Dismount. But it is a powerful book, 12 chapters with worksheets at the end of every chapter. You finish the worksheet before you matriculate to the next chapter. The Relationship Dismount, How to Stick the Landing When Exiting a Toxic Relationship, available now on Amazon.com. Then the follow-up to that book, that was my 2015 book. This is my 2019 book, The Holographic Relationship. When I tell you, this is a powerful work, man. Just go get it and read it, and then write me a review and tell me what you think about it. I would love to get your opinion on The Relationship Dismount as well as The Holographic Relationship. Now, the pre-order link is available right now for my forthcoming book, which is scheduled to drop June 2021, The Shrouded Lighthouse, How to Discover the Silver Lining in Any Situation Shift. Man, we about to go deeper than Hades. We're going deep on this book. Get over there right now. Support, support, support. Support black-owned businesses, all right? Now, the HuriKane Report. Go to H-report.news. Continue to support this brand. This is a news source, a journalistic news source for ADOS people or FBA. If you like to call yourself FBA, if you like to call yourself ADOS, if you like to call yourself Black, if you like to call yourself African American, this is a news source that is specifically tailored to us. Please go there right now, H-report.news. Now, without further ado, I am exceedingly excited to bring in my next guest. Many years ago, he came on my show when I was on the Foxhole, Sirius XM satellite. That's Jamie Foxx's Foxhole. Many years ago, it was him, Shahrazad Ali, and my brother Tariq Nasheed. They were all on, and I'm just pleased to have this brother on right now. When I tell you buckle your seatbelts, if you're here to be enlightened, if you're here to expand your consciousness, if you're here to grow up, if you're here to show up for yourself, this is the show. This is the show to do it. I'm telling you right now, I am humbled, I am honored to introduce you guys to my guest. It is none other than Dr. Kaba, Hiawatha, Kamene, AKA Booker T. Coleman. How you doing, good brother?
Hey, my brother Zo, I am doing excellent. Looking forward to this day, and I thank you so much for inviting me to your program to talk to the community and to send the word out.
Yes.
This is our time. This is a very important time, and we gotta do what we have to do, brother.
Yes, yes. Oh, and let me do this. I'm wearing Ramomar, and I know my good brother, Dr. Kamene, supports Ramomar as well, Black-owned fashion designer. So when you guys hear people say, where are the Black fashion designers? That brother is right there in New York with you, right, bruh?
That's right. That's right. And I was going to tell you, when before you came on, I was about to tell you how sharp you look there, brother. I was recognizing some medunnetta up on that jacket.
Come on, brother, you know.
How did I know it was Ramomar? Now I know what it's about.
It's Ramomar, brother. You know, we support the brothers, man. We got to do it. So.
That's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
We did it before.
Yeah, and we got to do it again.
We did it before when we were the only people in business.
Man, come on, man. When we had to, we had to support our own businesses because our businesses kept our communities alive, right? A lot of people were mad at Martin Luther King because they felt like integration destroyed all of the businesses that we set up for ourselves within our own community. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Dr. King, what we have to do, Brother Zo, and I think that your program affords us this opportunity, is to talk about these issues. Mm-hmm. Martin Luther King is one of the most misunderstood people I know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because I grew up in that movement, we weren't asking to integrate, we were talking about desegregate. It was about, if you wanted to go and have a meal, you should have a right to do it. If you wanted to sit in the front of the bus, you should be able to do that. You should not have to go without water because the black water fountain was broken. Nothing wrong with the one for the European, but you couldn't drink from that. The key was not integration. The key was desegregation. It was, we wanted to go where we wanted to go, when we wanted to go, and how. But it was turned around because integration is not an African concept. It's a European concept. We were saying, we want to go where we want to go. They were saying, you ain't going to integrate with us. We don't want to integrate with you. We didn't want busing. White folk didn't want us in their neighborhood, and my God, I didn't want to go in theirs. So it wasn't about busing. It was wrong. The way they handled it was wrong, but it was wrong because they wanted to destroy the progress, whether they liked it or not, that we have already made. And the fact, Brother Zo, that you and I are here talking, we have won. And we have to understand, we won. The fact that you have shown all, and I was writing down some of those products because they're going to hear from me. When we have the opportunity to do what it is that you're doing, we won already. And the reason why they're doing all these things with all the voting and everything else, is because they see that we are rising and there's nothing they can do about it. We couldn't stop if we wanted to. And so as it relates to Dr. Martin Luther King and integration, black folk never wanted to integrate in their, I'm not saying all of us, because I don't speak in absolute. Some of us may have wanted to move into their neighborhood. I didn't, and I don't now. In fact, the first thing I try to figure out when I go into a city is where the black folk.
where the good food at and where the black folk, right? You know the good food is where we at.
That's it. That and where's the nearest vegetarian restaurant? Because I gotta get my diet right.
Man, you already know. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into Zolo Mansions with myself, Zoe Williams, and the esteemed Dr. Kaba Hiawatha Kamene. And tonight's topic is, what does a 21st century black man and woman look like? Now, I got questions, Doc, and I'm just going to throw them to you, and I might interject here and there, but you have the floor. My first question is...
Well, now, please, Brother Zoe, before you go in, I just want to let the folk that are in the audience know, I purposely, and you and I purposely agreed that I don't know what your questions are.
Right. Oh, no. You told me. Don't let me know. Right.
So I can surprise you.
Right, man. I want to be surprised. I'm ready. So let me ask you this question right now to start this discussion. In the 21st century, who is the black family's primary protector and provider?
The one who has the courage to protect and divide. The one who has the ability to provide. We're living in a very different world right now. It's a very different world. And I understand that we want to go back to the way we used to be, but there are steps to get back there. And we have to realize that we are living in a world that is falling. We are living in the collapse of the final battle with the Amu. And the Amu are those minds that decide that they want to oppress a people. Their time is up now. And there are things that we have to start doing. And so what I tell myself, first of all, and I tell our people, I'm going with the warriors. I'm going with the ones that are ready to make this happen. I'm going with the ones that are ready, after watching this show, that they are ready to get your book. They're willing to reach out to the different African-American owned businesses that you have provided information on. So those are the folk on the front line right now.
Right.
And I'm tired of converting. I ain't gonna convert nobody no more. We gotta go with this now. We don't have time to wait.
Why do you think it's so difficult for us to work together and cooperate and collaborate with each other?
Because of the way in which we have been from our inception in this country. The African American, the African brought to the continental United States. Let's talk about the 13 colonies for right now. It happened throughout the diaspora. It is in the Caribbean, Central and South America. But I want to be specific because of the knowledge that I have of the United States of America and what has happened to us. We have to understand the psychology of what has happened to us, the brutality, the savagery in how we were treated. I've often said this, Brother Zoe, to the family. There is a price to pay for purposefully denigrating a people, purposefully miseducating them. The way in which, because there's a block that I pass in Harlem all the time. This block is where a lot of stuff happened that is not appropriate. And as I observe what's going on that corner, I can see how the purposeful, I mean, the way in which we have been brought through this process. And you see, the other thing, Brother Zoe, is we also have to realize that many of the Africans that were brought here were brought as children. You know, because if they went into a room and I was in the room, anybody that was going to try to enslave me in my community, they knew they had to kill me because I've been free too long. It's the children that you can snatch, that you can train them. And what they did is they brought them to the Caribbean, because that's where the first places were that brought Africans because of the Spaniards. And when they brought And these were the Moors. These were people of distinguished background. But in order to steal their land in Spain, they deported them to the Spanish-speaking islands in particular. And the island that they brought them to is the combined island that we today, it was called San Domingue, but it is the combined islands of Haiti and República Dominicana, the Dominican Republic. But at one time, that was one island. That is where Africans were broken. They were tortured. That is where they made Kunta Kinte say his name is Toby. And after they could get Africans to be broken in there, that's when they sold them to various parts of the American hemisphere. The great, out of every 100 Africans, this is what demographics is telling us. This is the study of populations. Demographics tells us that for every 100 Africans brought to this part of the world, the great majority of them, 39 out of 100, went to Brazil. 4% came directly to America. And then the others went into because we have to look at the Spaniards. Don't look at the British. Don't look at the French, because they were still eating raw meat in their houses and barns. It was Spain and Portugal that was on the world arena. Why? Because of the Africans that had gone in 710 and brought them out of their dark ages. And so when we understand what has happened to us, they bred us to fight each other. They encouraged us and rewarded for us to turn each other in. When we look at boxing today, that was the sport that they made us do. There's a movie called Mandingo with Ken Norton. Came out a couple years back. Then it had a follow-up called Drum, who was supposed to be his son. But the idea, Brother Zoe, is the fact we have been brought through a process, and people often talk about the crabs in the basket. About how when, we're all in the basket and one tries to get out the basket, the others pull them down. And so they try to make it seem as if this is the way we are as a people. But the other thing you got to look at is that a crab is a natural entity. When you took that crab out of the water, you took the crab out of his or her natural environment. And then you put them in a basket, which is an unnatural environment. And so when you take a natural entity from a natural environment and put them in an unnatural environment, it is natural for the natural entity to act unnatural in an unnatural setting. And so now, if you take those crabs and dump that basket of crabs back in the water, what you'll notice is crabs actually help each other eat. They stack on each other. And the one on top will eat. And then the one after dine's sufficient go down and then lift the group up so that the next one can eat.
Wow.
And then it'll go down and then lift the group up. So what I'm saying to us as a people, we got to go back into our natural environment to be able to conceptualize a world where we would act natural. So I don't have a problem understanding why we act the way we act. It's unfortunate. It disappoints me that we act like this, but I'm not surprised. We are a natural being. We are the original prototype, archetype of this human family.
Would you say the psychology of inferiority that has been ingrained in our minds from generation to generation is now on autopilot, or is white supremacy still working very diligently to reinforce it and update that psychology of inferiority?
Well, it's both. It's according to who it is. There are some people who have bought into it, and there are other people like you and I and others probably in the studio. We say, this ain't how it's going to go down on my watch.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. How do you break that?
Because deep inside of us, there is that connective DNA that even though they ripped us the way they did from our homeland, and even though they took our history, they took our language, they took our psychological factor, which are our values, interests, and principles, they took that from us, but there was a seed that remained in us, and every generation gave birth to that Nat Turner, to that Harriet Tubman, to that Frederick Douglass, to that John Henry Clark. That still exists in us. And those who would wish to oppress us know we're on the rise. And there's nothing you're going to do about it. You can postpone the future, but you'll never cancel it.
So, in your opinion, who is the chief author of Black psychology moving into the 21st century? Are we our own authors? Are we learning to become our own authors? Or is the dominant society the chief author of Black psychology moving forward?
From what I'm looking at in terms of psychology, it is a level of like a relay race. One generation hands it to the next. There are things that this generation knows that the last generation didn't know. It is within an African concept in a society that I have studied African societies as it relates to education and basic social formation. And what I have learned is that the number one priority in an African conceptual framework is to make the children better than you. Everything that I do to make those that follow me better than me. Not like me, better than me. That's my obligation. And so when I look at Black psychology, I think of people who have been in this for a very long time, from Martin Delany in the 1850s, coming up to people like Hubert Harrison in the early 1900s. Because see, Black psychology wasn't quite the way it is now, because in my first book, William Leo Hansberry, he is the brother that developed the first African studies program in an accredited college. He did it in Howard University in 1922. And he was the one that laid out how to study African history, because up until then, the only, and this is with the HBCUs, the only place that you were exposed to your culture, your history as an African, was in social sciences or social studies. And even that was a minor point compared to you being indoctrinated in the oxymoronic concept of white supremacy. Because, you know, white supremacy is an oxymoron.
Right. Please elaborate. Please elaborate for the people that are new, brother. How is white supremacy an oxymoron? Please go into it.
Let me tell you this. Okay, I'm going to tell it to you this. Right now, Brother Zo, being on your program, talking the way I am mad happy. Okay.
Mad happy.
Right. Mad happy.
Right.
I'm not just happy.
Right.
I'm not just happy. I'm mad happy, because in our language, this concept of being mad happy is good. Means that it's more than happy.
Yes, that's the connotation. Yes, over the denotation. Right.
I mean, when something gets so good, we say, yo, that's bad. That's dope.
Right.
Because we have to be able to, as an African, express our excitement. And English is a very poor language to be able to express it. So we got to put our body into it. You know, if I said to you, yo, that's good. Then I said to you, yo, that's bad.
Right.
And I said, yo, man, that is bad.
Right.
And I put my body into it. Wow, that's bad.
Or she bad. Oh, man, she's bad. So we know what. But listen, you just said something that's so powerful. White supremacy as a term is a connotation. It's not a denotation, right?
It don't exist. It's an illusion.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
There's nothing supreme about being white. And I'm not talking superior or inferior. I'm talking science. I am talking, let's use scientific terms. Let's say dominant and recessive.
Come on.
This is science here now.
Keep going. Go ahead. Go deeper.
Okay, you learned this in Punet's Cube. I taught this in 5th grade science class to my students. Punet's Cube. You got the big B, you got the little b. And you create a square, you put it in the middle, and then you have 4 sections. You put on one side the big B, on the other side you put the little b. When you have a big B and a big B, that is totally dominant. When you have a big B and a little b, that is a blend of dominant recessive. When you have a little b and a little b, that's totally recessive. Big B will always overtake little b. Science, not personal.
Not personal. Not racist.
No, this is science. This is in your books that you. But the thing is, when you get into what you deal with albinoidism, when you teach it in school. Now, let me just say for those that may not know, my background is education here in New York. I taught for 31 years, 3 months and 15 days. And I taught every subject and I've taught every grade. My primary license is in early childhood. I'm a kindergarten teacher. Because I said, I want to get this information to the babies. If I could get to them when they're 4 and 5, they're not going to worry about this in high school.
Right.
Because I've also taught college 14 years. And what I've noticed about the excitement, the exhilaration, and the fundamental beauty of our students when they're in their 20s is the fact that if this is your first time learning Black history, it can be overwhelming, particularly if you're in my class. It can be overwhelming. So what I've come to the conclusion is that for someone to be introduced to their culture in college is like giving a marathon runner of a 26-mile run water at the 24th mile.
You coming in the game late when you getting it at that stage.
You know what it's all right, and it's good, because at least it's better late than never.
Right.
Really want to fundamentally be able to grow with this, to be able to understand this. I went to Mexico with Dr. Van Sertima in 1984. And I had just come from Egypt with Dr. Ben in 83. So here I am in Mexico in 84 with Dr. Van Sertima. And what he told us the first night that we were in Mexico, he said, what I have to do tonight is to erase all the garbage that's been written on the chalkboards of your mind. Because what you're about to experience, you have never seen it. Dr. Ben told us 2 weeks before we went to Egypt with him in July of 83, he said, we met in a church in Harlem. And this was like a pre-meeting before we went 2 weeks before the trip. And Dr. Ben said to the group that was in the church that was going, he said, there's only one thing I want you to realize and remember. I don't want you to blame me for the person that's going to come back in August, because the person that's going to come back in August is not the person sitting in this chair right now.
Right.
And he's right. I still ain't even considered going back to the way I was before that. Once you get this exposure, you never go back.
Right.
Well, you never want to go back.
Right.
And so what we're experiencing is, in this discussion, they knew our power. They understood our power. I was checking out the brother, Secretary Austin, the brother that is now the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
And he was being interviewed. I think it was on 60 Minutes. And I purposely tuned in just to see him. And he said that when he was a lieutenant general, now think about him being a lieutenant general in the military. He said he used to, whatever orders he would give his troops, he used to give it to the one under him who was white. Because he said if he spoke to them that way, they wouldn't obey him. Now, how you figure that? You're a lieutenant general and you're talking to your troops, but because of the color of your skin, you've got to get
oh my goodness, keep going.
to the white general or colonel that's under you, because he would have more impact on the white troops than he would as a lieutenant general. This is the America that we're living in. And when he said that, because I spent time in the military, so I know what he's talking about. And when he said that, I came to understand. But with all of that fear that they have of us, they made us fight each other. To go back to your question. And this is what we do. Not all of us. But there are those that have been convinced that you ain't nothing, You ain't never been nothing, and you ain't ever gonna be nothing. And Wade Nobles, the great scholar out there on your side of the coast, he once said that power is the ability to define someone's reality.
Yes.
And have that person accept that definition as if it were their own.
Yes, yes. But see, this is one of the things I've been saying for many years now. We have to break up with white supremacies and, as Tariq Nasheed would say, the dominant society's definitions of us, who they say we are. And what you're laying out right now, to me, sounds like in order to matriculate up their society or through their society to have any level of social mobility, there has to be a psychological capitulation in place.
That's right.
So, again, you said something very powerful when you said, we got to get the kids. I oftentimes feel like, because I remember Oprah Winfrey said something about racist white folk, and I don't often quote Oprah Winfrey, but she said something that resonated with me when she said, we just got to wait till the old white racist people die. Is the same true of the old programmed black people? Do we got to wait for them to die off?
I think the most important thing we can do, Brother Zoe, is get our children ready. To hell with the folk that can't go. I just don't have time for them anymore. You know, if I have to convince you of what I'm saying, ain't nothing I'm gonna say will convince you. If you don't need to be convinced, and let's roll back our sleeves and get the job done. I'm looking for 3 out of 100.
So why do we have to convince people to participate with their community, with their people? Why are our people still in this mindset of tear each other down, disrespect each other, support nothing but frivolity and foolishness, and always seeking stimulation and addicted to entertainment? Why are we still in this place when people like you exist, when people like Marcus Garvey existed, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Louis Farrakhan? We got a lot of people that have come. There have been so many people, like you said earlier, Ivan Van Sertima. That was a powerful brother. And there, Dr. John Henrik Clark. So many giants have come through with information where they disconnected from the psychological programming that says you are inferior. Why are we still in this position when we've had so many giants? Talk to me.
Because when I look at this brother, but by the grace of God, there go I, man. I grew up in a project.
Me too.
In New York. And I know what I was exposed to. I remember my boys, and we used to hang out and do our thing. I remember when Heron came into my community. I can even remember the car that used to park every other Thursday that would do the drop-off. I love our people unconditionally. I just don't have time for you right now if you're not ready. I gotta go someplace. I gotta go someplace that Dr. King called the Promised Land. I gotta go there. I don't have time to wait for you.
Right.
I don't have time for you to get your head together.
Right.
But I do believe in leading by example. If I'm gonna tell you the greatness of Africa, then I have to somehow emulate a feeling of greatness within myself. And that has to reflect the love I have for people. And for the honesty that we have to present to our young people. We have to be honest with them. But by the grace of God, brother, I know what we've all gone through. I'm sorry, like Gil Scott-Heron said in his piece, Message to the Messenger, in his last album, Spirits. He said they don't know. He's speaking about Europeans, and he's talking to the rappers. He's saying they don't know what to tell y'all, but they know that you do. And so they're going to try to stop you. And they're coming at us from different directions. And I'm saying to us, we got to come back at them with all of the resources that we have. When a people are purposefully underdeveloped, there is a price to be paid for the underdeveloper. One of the attributes, well, Ma'at is the law, the cosmic law.
Right.
And Ma'at represents truth, justice, righteousness, harmony,
Balance,
order, arrangement.
Yeah, yeah.
But it also represents reciprocity. And reciprocity says, you shall reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. That's science. That's not personal.
Right.
That's not even biblical. That's science.
Right. For every action, there's an equal yet opposite reaction.
Science.
Right. Right.
The peoples of European descent are going to pay for what they've done to the melanated people of the world. Brother, I was an angry young brother. And I was going through one of my convolutions when I was a teenager. And all of us, brothers, sisters, we all know that feeling. That intense, uncontrollable emotion. But that day, brothers, something came over me. And something told me, something I felt, I should say. It told me, back up. Don't worry about them being peoples of European descent or those who would wish to oppress you, whoever they may be. Don't worry about them. Get yourself together. Let me take care of them, because I got something for them that you can't even imagine.
Control what you control.
And that's what I dedicate my life to.
Right, right. Now
getting myself, I know them.
Right.
The great scholar Dr. Shashi McIntyre used to say, white folk act the way white folk act because white folk act the way white folk act.
It's just that simple. Right.
It's very simple. Brothers, so all of this is very simple. Nature doesn't complicate things. Human ignorance complicates nature's simple story. We got to do this.
So let's get into nature. What's the difference between spirituality and religion?
Religions are the children of spirituality. Spirituality is an energy. It is a science. It is an unseen science. Spirituality is unseen science, and science is seen spirituality. It's the name of the book. Spirituality before religions.
Wait, hold it up one more time.
It is an energy.
Where can they get that, Dr. Kaba?
Amazon.
Amazon.com. I want everybody to go there and cash mob this valued scholar in our community. Go there right now. I mean, everybody, go do it right now. Okay, finish what you were saying.
This book, Spirituality Before Religions, is number 2 in my trinity or trilogy of books. My first book is on Professor William Leo Hansberry. Anybody who is interested in African studies, Black studies, you need to know William Leo Hansberry. Because he, directly or indirectly, has impacted just about every scholar in that subject. Because he formally created the curriculum. Because my background is curriculum writing and professional development as it relates to African culture, the teaching of it. And what William Leo Hansberry did is he laid out the pattern. You know, Dr. Clark used to always tell me, he said, you may not get to your destiny, and he was referring to himself, but he was telling it through to me.
Right.
He said, you may not reach your destination in life, what you really want to do. He said, but if you leave the proper roadmap, those that come behind you will be able to continue your journey. I am attempting to continue William Leo Hansberry's journey. Because he said 2 things. He said if Black folk knew who they were, first and foremost, they wouldn't act the way they act. When you understand that you come from a long line of greatness, put aside that you were the first people. Put aside that everything came from you. Put aside you are the original family that taught the world language. You were the first to read, to write, to calculate. You built civilizations before Eurasians even existed on the planet. Forget about being in the caves. Before they existed, In the central and southern part of Africa, the original human beings known as the Twa Mbuti people, derogatorily called the pygmy,
Right.
were the first family. And check this out. I'm doing research now on the click language. Now, when you study the click language from a linguistic perspective, clicks are very consonantal. They don't have many vowels. Everything is sound. What I'm doing is I'm making a comparative analysis between the click language, Thelonious Monk's music and jazz, and rap music in the beats.
Come on, man. Come on.
Our young people don't realize that when you do the beats, you are actually reverting back to your original click language. We don't know our history, Brother Zo. We don't know where we came from. We have no fathomable understanding. And when someone tells a perfect lie, the truth is unbelievable.
Wow.
So folk be looking at me.
Wow.
But you see, it's the science, Brother Zo. I don't play with emotion. I don't play with our people's emotion.
Right. Right.
I'm going to show you the click language. And if you want to know it, anybody want to know it, just listen to a song by Miriam Makeba called Pata Pata. It's because I got the song on my iPod, so I know it's up on iTunes.
Right.
But check out the song and listen to the clicks, and then go to listen to the way Thelonious Monk on the piano played Straight No Chaser.
Right. 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 So here's
But
my.
let me tell you one other thing, brother. I can take you
Continue.
to Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, and I can show you the click language in Beethoven, another brother. It's deep in our DNA. We can't escape it. We call it something else. Everybody talk about Santeria, they talk about Voodoo, they talk about Candomblé.
Yeah.
But guess what? What you think that pastor up in that Baptist pulpit is doing? He is stone African. When he does his call and response, that's African. When he dances at the pulpit, when the people in the audience say, well, that's African.
Call and response. Yeah. Yeah.
That's an African tradition that we have always had. You can go back into the communities of the Dogon of Mali or the Bambara of Mali. You can go to the Twi of Ghana, to the Yoruba or Igbo of Nigeria. You can go to Cuba of Congo. You can go to the Matabele people in Southern Africa, to Zimbabwe. There is a cultural connection that keeps us all together. It's right here in front of us, but because they told a perfect lie, we think the truth is unbelievable.
Wow. And again, we're dependents. Because what you're basically telling me that's really blowing my mind. The 21st century black man and woman is going to be a carbon copy of this sick society until we elevate knowledge of self. Is knowledge of self too heavy for us to put on our collective shoulders? Why isn't it important anymore? Talk to me.
Because, brother, when you know better, you got to do better. Responsibility is two words, not one. Responsibility is the response to your ability. Accountability is to be accountable for your ability.
For your abilities.
And if you want to go into the Bible, the story of the talents, where people are given different talents and some of them bury them, some of them invest them. Well, that's a story about us. No matter what your cards may be, as wonderful or as horrific, these are the cards that nature gave you. Play them to your best. Whatever you are, be the best. If you work for MTA and you drive a bus, be the best bus driver.
Right.
Okay? If you're a nurse, be the best nurse.
Right.
If you a brother to wait for the light to turn red so you can come out with a cup and ask somebody in a car for money, be the best
Right.
at what you do.
Yes. Yes.
Because when you transfer that talent into what you really want to be, at least you've practiced responsibility.
Yes. Responding to your ability.
That's it.
Oh, man. Let me ask you this.
What gift did the Creator give you? Like no others. There are other people that got Zoom programs. There are other people that got radio programs. But Brother Zo, the Creator gave you something that is Zo Williams. He didn't give it to other people. He gave it to you.
Right.
So you do the best you can. And it's not about looking at what other people are doing that are in your field.
Right.
The competition is not between you and them. The competition is between who you are today, hoping who you're going to be tomorrow, hoping you're a better person than you were yesterday.
That's right. That's right.
You are the Creator having a human experience. That is why I wrote Spirituality Before Religion. There's two cosmic laws. This is all that exists, according to Kaba. Number one, realize that you are the Creator having a human experience. And the second law is to treat the Creator's creations as you would treat yourself.
With respect, with regard, with consideration, with admiration.
But you can't if you don't realize you the Creator.
Right, right.
How can you love and respect someone else if you don't love and respect yourself?
Right.
Brother Zo, when I
Go ahead,
When
brother.
I met Professor Clark, I was 12 and a half years old. Some old heads brought us up to Harlem. And they sat us in front of this gentleman that was speaking. And at the end of his presentation, they brought us up and they introduced us. There was about 5 or 6 of us, young people. The others were like 17, 18, 19. From the project, our families knew each other. They used to put us on the handlebars and same folk that would take me to the Nation of Islam meetings, same people that would take me to Black Panther meetings. And at the end of they introduced us to Dr. Clark. When they got to me, he said, "Oh, Booker T, you're gonna be a great teacher one day." That wasn't on my mind back then, but hey, he said, so I went along with him.
Right.
But he gave us a homework assignment. And I've often given this homework assignment to everyone I come in contact. And he told me, 12 and a half, he said, "I want you to go home, go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and tell that person that you're looking at, I love you, and mean it. Because if you can't do that, then there is nothing anyone else can do for you in your life."
I don't think
When my children,
wait, that just resonates. Are y'all hearing that? If you can't go in the bathroom and look in the mirror and tell yourself that you love yourself, can't nobody else in the world do nothing for you. So you let that resonate. Go ahead and finish that.
well, it's something to think about. It's good to resonate because, sometimes it's good to hear, but sometimes it's even better to think. Think about that and think about what we say. Look at what they got us doing when it comes to dieting. Okay? When I tell people health and nutrition and I talk to somebody, don't ever look in the mirror and say, "I hate how I look." Look in that mirror and say, "I love who I am and I deserve better." If you want to change, don't change because you hate yourself. Change because you love yourself and you deserve better. As Africans, we did this. This is what helped build the pyramids. This is what made balance between males and females. Because we realized our place. And we realized the way we treat a plant is the way we treat the Creator's creations. The way in which we treat each other is the way in which we treat. So please, don't go to church on Sunday and then blaspheme people Monday through Saturday and then think you can throw some money in a basket and you're forgiven for what you've done. But the bottom line is you cannot love somebody else if you don't love yourself. Because in valuing who you are, you automatically see the value in someone else. And you realize your relationship with them is like a tide that's rising. Because when a tide rises, the big and the little boats rise.
You're touching on something so very powerful and so very deep and connected to my own work. This is why the great Krishnamurti said, relationship is a mirror. If you don't love yourself, you're going to attract someone who can't love you and who probably doesn't love themselves, so that you guys can see that unloving reflection in one another, which would cause tension, which would cause you to investigate internally. But we live in an external society that puts you on an external journey of accumulation. The more I get, I think will make me happy. But no external accumulation will provide an internal answer to that longing. So we're reflecting that mirror type dynamic in relationships. Loving you creates an entirely different or loving yourself creates an entirely different vibration that attracts an entirely different type of person, one who loves themselves. This takes me back to another question. Is there a connection between Western science and African spirituality?
Okay, interesting. Great question.
Yes.
Once again, I could go back to my brother, Dr. Wade Nobles out there in California, because he said that Western civilization is vomit.
Vomit.
It smells bad, it looks bad, and it is actually a regurgitation of the meal you just ate.
Mm-hmm.
When Eurasians sat at the feet of Africans to learn,
Mm-hmm.
the Persians, the Greeks,
Mm-hmm.
the Romans,
Mm-hmm.
the meal that was prepared was too rich, and they did not have the digestive enzymes to break it down. So they took a very complex yet simple concept, and in not understanding it, confused it,
Mm-hmm.
and regurgitated.
Mm-hmm.
So that your concept of Western science, your concept of Western spirituality, mathematics, whatever it may be, is vomit. What they learned from Africans was too rich. They couldn't get it. They didn't have the enzymes to break it down. They didn't have the intellectual enzymes to break it down. So they vomited it up, and what's on our plate in the Western educational system is African vomit. So what I say to people is, don't throw the vomit away. See, I didn't throw the vomit away. I was repulsed by it throughout my entire educational career. I was repulsed by what I was learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I was repulsed not because I repulsed it. I was repulsed by it because it repulsed me from my existence in history and science and math. So I examined it.
Mm-hmm. I
examined how they taught it. Because Wade Nobles tells us, examine that vomit. Because in that vomit is the original meal. Don't throw it away.
Uh-oh.
Examine it, and then you recook it, because you got the intellectual enzymes to break that meal down.
So see, I know it seemed like that question was off topic, but in reality, I set it up that way on purpose for this reason. In order to get back to loving oneself, we've got to vomit up that vomit. Their vomit. In order to get back to what you are, you're going to have to say, what did they put in me? Because your consciousness is full of content. Who's the author of the content in your consciousness? And if it's not you, then how can you love, accept, embrace, and caress yourself? Love yourself, approve of yourself. If the content of your consciousness is authored by a sick society that has taught you to capitulate, that has marginalized you at every turn, that has taught you the religion of submission to them, how will you ever love yourself? And if you can never love yourself, how can another person love you, right?
And that's the bottom line. When somebody, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, the great Senegalese scholar, he tells us there's three things that people will take from you, an oppressor will take from the people they wish to oppress. Mm-hmm. They'll take your history, mm-hmm. They'll take your language, and they'll take your psychological factor. Your psychological factor includes what Dr. Leonard Jeffries tells us are your values, your interests, and your principles, your VIPs. And once they take your history, your language, and your values, interests, and principles, they then superimpose over you their history, their language, their values, interests, and principles. So that no matter what decision you make, it ain't never gonna be in your favor because you're looking at the world through someone else's eyes.
Through their lens, through their gestalt, right? You're looking at it through their lens, their point of view. But for so many, doing that leads to a check where they get fed, where they keep their lights on, where they, where they get to buy the kind of car they want, and they get to live in the kind of house they want to live in. Again, how do we make who we are, our story, our spiritual journey mean something if our spiritual journey doesn't lead to what we've been taught is successful? Success is being able to pay your bills in American society. So how do we get our story to mean more than their story, which at the end of the day, if you conform, leads to a check?
There are certain steps that go into brainwashing a person. You give them a myth, and you repeat it so many times that they believe the myth. You keep telling them the same myth, and then they form the habit of believing the myth. And while it's the last formed, it's always the hardest to get rid of, because we know they're not superior. That's the myth. We don't believe it anymore by the way in which they've conducted themselves, but we have formed the habit of believing it. So we go along to get along because this is what we've known. This has become our crutch. And so as we go through this process, those 3 steps alone tell you something. But here's another thing. There's another brother, brilliant brother. His name is Dr. Edwin Nichols. And Dr. Edwin Nichols is a clinical psychiatrist, and he talks about the axiology of the African race and then the ethnic and Asian ethnic stock. Because white is not a race. It's an ethnic stock. Asians, not a race. It's an ethnic stock.
Right.
It is something that came out of the original archetype, which was African. And when you look at Asian people, we say Asian eyes. Asians don't have eyes like that. They have small eyes. People call it slanted. Sometimes I don't like that word. I don't know. But when I say that, I'm talking about Asian eyes, the kind that we call slanted.
Right.
I think it's a derogatory term, but be it as it may, they have the small eyes. But their eyes are not like that because they're Asian. Their eyes are like that because when they were developing themselves in the ice mountains, the winds would blow in their face. And if they lived at the foothills of the mountains, then chances are the wind blew down on them and their eyes would slant down. If the wind blew directly in their face, their eyes would slant back. If they were at the top of the mountain and the winds blew up, then they would, their eyes would slant up. Because I could take you to places in the Sahel. I could take you to places in around the Sahara. Look at Nelson Mandela. Look at the Khoisan people of Southern Africa.
Look Asian, according to what that term means, right?
But the reason why the Khoisan have those eyes is because they live around the Kalahari Desert, which is windy. And so when the wind blows in your face, you squint your eyes.
Right.
Over time, over thousands of years in that environment, nature has mercy on you because she wants you to use other muscles. So she doesn't want you to always have to use those muscles. So she starts to give birth to you with the traits that will allow you to selectively adapt to your environment. I can take you places around the world where there are places in West Africa where when you look at a brother or sister's face, look at Nelson Mandela, that's an example. And you can see that he's not mixed with Asian. There's no Asian people in his blood.
Right.
So how are his eyes so slanted?
Right.
Because of a windy environment.
Right.
But Edwin Nichols talks about the three axiology. Axiology is a point of reference, particularly cultural reference, how people respond in life. And what Dr. Nichols says is that the African axiology is based in person to person. The way in which we do what we do is based on our relationship with each other. The society that we built is built from a person-to-person relationship, where it is our interaction, both male and female, that creates the governments, the educational system, the spiritual system. It all comes from a person-to-person relationship. You can even see it now. That's why we got so many handshake, high five, give me skin.
Right.
You know, you know, that's how we do what we do. When we come upon each other, it's a ritual.
Right. Right.
You know, it ain't about, hello, how are you, shake your hand. It's about all this going all up and down, dancing and whatnot. That's how we are. That's our flavor. We should be proud of that.
Indeed. Indeed. I have
Asian axiology is person to group. Because in their environment, in the mountains of Asia, the Himalayas and places like that, you had to depend on each other to be able to survive. See, Africans never had that problem.
Right. Right.
Mango was falling from the tree, fruits and vegetables was, so we could interact with each other.
Right.
But when you are in an extreme condition like that, where survival was important, their survival depended on the group. And this is why Asian are person to group oriented.
The whole
This is why
group.
when you see them and how they function as a group, you see, and that's one of our challenges, because there was a brother in California did a PhD study on why did African American and Hispanic American students not do as well as Asian and European American students.
Right.
Long story short is what they found out was African and Hispanic students studied longer and harder than their white and Asian counterparts. But what he found out was that whites and Asians studied in groups. He also found that if you can bring 5 people together to form a study group, no matter what question may come up in that group, somebody got the answer.
Wow.
He found that African and Hispanic American students would socialize with each other, but when it came time to study, they studied on their own. So he started a study, and his PhD paper was on what happened when he took students of African and Hispanic descent and put them in groups. Their scores rose.
I believe it. I believe it.
That's why in our schools, the first thing I did, once I read this, I started to form study groups in my classroom, where I put 5 children together.
And you saw the numbers and their grades rise.
The number, and also classroom management changed, because when they were cooperating, it's called cooperative education. When you cooperate with each other, you depend on each other, and when you depend on each other, then you respect each other differently, so that, you know, when we study together and I know that it is a value for me to be with you, I realize it is important that I treat you right. So I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to do silly things. Children do things in classrooms.
Right.
And so when I put the groups together, not only did their scores go up, but I was also able to control the behaviors of the classroom. See, it's a whole dynamic, and this was Africa, brother. I'm not saying anything that wasn't done. This what built the pyramids.
But is what you just described sound like a solution?
Yes.
For crabs in a barrel.
Solution there, brother.
And I'm talking about society, culture wide. It sounds like if we implemented the group study concept
That's it.
in Compton, in Inglewood, in New York, in Brooklyn, and if we implemented that, that might be the smoking gun that changes our whole situation here.
It could very well be, because when children learn how to do it, the adults will start doing it, and it'll go back to your other point, why we fight each other, why we act towards each other. If we acted in a cooperative manner, we would see the value in each other, and then we'd see the value in us, and then go back to the 2 cosmic laws. We would learn to love ourselves and realize we are the creator, we are the creator having a human experience, and the people that we interact with, instead of putting guns up against their head to blow their brains out because we don't know them, we would understand that if I just stand back and stand tall with them, we will all rise together. Now, the last thing I want to say about the axiology is the European axiology. The way in which they base their civilization is person to material wealth.
So person to object, person to things.
Yes, that's what it is, person to object.
Wow.
And they value you for what you got.
So stop everything, stop the presses. We are literally out of our minds. If you listen to what this good brother just told us, we are literally out of our minds. Is that not who black people are today? Person to object, person to thing, person to materialism. Now, there's a brother sitting here right now who has a wealth of information. I'm sure you've heard of the old axiom, when an old African axiom, when an old man dies, a library burns down. This brother is alive. He's here right now. This information is available to us right now. At some point in our lives, we're going to have to take responsibility for this information and start cleansing ourselves, detoxing ourselves from this thought process that the more I have, the happier I'll be, right? Or the more satisfied I'll be. We got to stop emulating what he calls success. What is the African spirituality's definition of success?
To fulfill your divine purpose. And life and education was meant to assist and facilitate children in finding that gift, and then they blossom. Brother Zo, it's like if we turned out all the lights in the room, couldn't see a thing, and then all of a sudden you found a light switch and you turned the light on, you saw the chair, the television, the bookshelves, the pictures on the walls. My question is, did all those things appear in the room when you turned the light on?
No. Yes, they did, but they were already there, right?
They were already there. You just have to turn your light on.
Yes.
We were born with our purpose.
Yes.
We were born to fulfill our purpose.
Yes.
And this society was born to challenge us not to do it. We were born to make sure they weren't successful. The only person, you only have one enemy. You only have one enemy. Everything else is an obstacle. We are born. Go back to the Assyrian drama. But let's update it. We are all born with a Messiah and a Judas. All inside of us.
Yes.
Judas is there to convince you that you cannot fulfill your divine destiny. Your Messiah was born to resurrect you to realize you were born to do it and stop Judas from being successful. That's spirituality before religion.
Oh, hey, again, I hate to mention Krishnamurti again, but he's one of my favorite philosophers. He said, the enemy is you, not the other. The enemy is you. It has always been you.
Always. You were born with it, and you'll never get rid of it. What you got to do is put it in its place.
Yes, yes. Would you say...
You'll always be there. The day you get rid of evil is the day you get rid of good. The day you get rid of the virus is the day you get rid of good health. They will always be around. In science, it's called a free radical. You'll always be around. When I was a young man, I used to smoke cigarettes. I will always be an ex-smoker. Those who are into addictions, you'll always have those addictions. You must put that addiction in its place.
Right.
Because it will always rear its ugly head at various times in your life.
Right, right, right.
It's about discipline and understanding from the deepest perspectives who you are as a person. You have been blessed by the Creator for birth. Medicare, you got, my daddy, I don't know who my daddy is. Well, you know something? Let me introduce you to a greater daddy. Let me introduce you to the cosmic daddy. Because he only used your daddy to bring you through physically. Cosmic daddy had plans for you.
That's the real sky daddy right there. Yes, yes, yes.
So I'm telling black folk, look, we have always, on the plantation, we didn't know who our daddy was. Sometimes we knew who our mommy was, but sometimes we knew they sold her. What made us get through that? We've been through some stuff. If we could get through that, I'm embarrassed to think I'm having a difficult time today. I'm blessed compared to what our ancestors went through. And now that we're talking about ancestors, let me drop something else, and I'm going to thank Footprints for this, African Footprints. They sent me, because, when you talk, because there's a chapter in the book that I talk about ancestors and who they are. And this organization, it's called Ancestral Footprints.
Yes, I have all of their videos. I know exactly who you're talking about. Yes.
You know the one where they say to you how many ancestors you have?
Absolutely. That goes all the way back to God. Yes.
You know something? I take our community only back 20 generations. Because you see, sometimes things can be overwhelming, Brother Zo. So I take you back 20 generations. I take you back to the year 1621. 1621, if you look at a generation being 20 years, 20 generations becomes 400 years.
Right.
For each and every one, and I'm talking about having 2 parents,
right,
4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, on down the line, 20 generations of human beings.
Right.
If you can imagine this, when we think we alone, this is what I tell us. For us to go back 20 generations, for us to sit here today, Brother Zo, Brother Kaba, everyone in your studio, everybody in the audience, for every one of us, mathematically, this is science, this ain't no emotion. It took 1,047,576 human beings to bring you into existence. I'm only going back 400 years now.
1 million folk.
When we go back, how many ancestors do we have?
Come on.
And you think you're alone?
Come on. And the African told you, there is no death, really. When they move on, they're still accessible to you through ritual.
They are you.
They are you.
You are your ancestors.
Think of the...
When I do libation...
Right. Go ahead. Talk about the libation, please.
When I talk about, when we do libation, we don't call our ancestors outside to come in. We are invoking them to come from within to come out.
Ooh.
That's why we call their name in the first place. Where did their name come from? It didn't come from outside of us. It came from inside of us. But what about all those millions of ancestors we will never know? That's why when we do libations, we should always give recognition to those. I may not know your name, but credit is what brought me here.
Right.
I pay homage and respect to you. Ashe, Asheo.
That's right. That's why they talk about the Ori that controls the Orisha. It actually signs off on the Orisha working for you, but it is your Ori, your higher consciousness. Ori meaning head. Your consciousness is the one that signs off on everything. Without its approval, there's no work from the Orisha. Come, man. Listen, this brother just told you.
To add one more thing to what you said, Brother Zo. The third book I wrote, which is on Kindle now, Shabaka Stone, which is an African theory on the origin and continuing development of the cosmic universe. It's a story that our ancestors told thousands of years ago. And Pharaoh Shabaka of the 25th dynasty rewrote it. That book gets to the point that I'll tell you this. You only have one ancestor.
Keep going. Go on and say it.
It's the creator. And our ancestors called it the Nun. The waters from whence we all came. That original Trinity.
Yes, primordial waters of chaos. Yes.
That's
yes.
Out of that came Ptah, which is the conversion of energy, potential energy into energy in motion. Rising above, Atum,
Yes.
that sat atop and called everything into being.
Right.
And isn't Adam the one that called all of the creator's creations into being by giving them names?
Boom. Boom.
You want to know where Genesis came from?
Right.
It came from the walls of Africa. Because
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing in spirituality before religion. It's an analysis.
Right.
In the pyramid text, the last pharaoh of the 5th dynasty, Neset Biti Unas, he carved on his wall the pyramid text, which was a story of his ascension into heaven, but also how humans should live on earth to ascend into earthly heaven. In utterances 273 and 274, it could be called scripture, but they called it utterances because they come from the mouth of the Atum, creative consciousness.
Right.
273, 274 talk about Unas, who transforms himself into a bull and eats the bodies of the gods and drinks the blood of the gods.
Right.
But family, it was a metaphor. It wasn't supposed to be taken literally.
But that's how we spoke. We told stories. That's how we conveyed it. You just mentioned Nun, the primordial waters of chaos. Well, modern day physics, what do they call it? The unified field theory. And when they explain it, they say it's total conscious energy that's undulating. Newton and Einstein's theories break down at that subatomic level, so it represents a kind of chaos, which is the feminine principle. And then out of the feminine principle emerges the masculine principle, which is this three-dimensional matrix we live in today. Masculine, logical, reasoning, linear. That's the physical manifestation. But the female manifestation is the power behind the manifestation. I'm trying to tell you, man, if we could get back to that, if we could tap into that, God being your only ancestor, you and God are related. God being, what did you say? We are or maybe a representative of God experiencing him itself as a human.
Yes.
For a particular purpose. Yes. If we could get back to that.
That is, once you get, that's why that's the first cosmic law. Once you understand that, Brother Zo, and to the family listening, once you understand how all of this happened, and again, Shabaka Stone was meant to develop a methodology, and that's why it's the third book in the Trinity of the books that I wrote, because they're all related. They're all related. William Leo Hansberry is the waters of Nun. William Leo Hansberry is the origin of self-expression, self-understanding, and out of that was motivated an understanding that you take energy that's at rest, you convert it into energy in motion.
Right.
That then allows you to call forward your consciousness, that allows you to, every day you do it. Tonight when you go to bed, you going into the waters of Nun.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And when you wake up, that's Ptah.
Yes.
And when you figure that you remember who you are and what you got to do today, that's Atum. We do it every day. And so as we move through this process, family, if we just understood what it is, but everything, all roads lead to our children's ascension in the community. All roads lead to their God particle. You know, you talk about the Grand Unified Theory. In Shabaka Stone, I have a chapter dedicated to the Grand Unified Theory.
Talk to
Because,
us.
you know, back in the mid-1800s, again, you know, these are their scientists come up with a concept of what they call quantum mechanics,
Right.
quantum physics, which studies the inner world. It studies the atom. It
Yes.
studies the proton, neutron, electron, gluons, muons,
Yes.
in quarks,
Yes.
leptons, in Yang-Mills fields. Okay, that's science. I just wanted to drop it so you know that I'm coming from somewhere.
Yes,
This
sir.
ain't just coming up off my head.
Right.
And his name was Max Planck.
Yes. Yeah.
And Max Planck came up with these concepts, these ideas, studying the world, because up until then, the atom was considered to be defined as indivisible.
Yep.
They didn't understand it.
Right.
Europeans didn't understand this at all.
Yep.
So they said atom meant indivisible. But Max Planck realized that no, the atom could be broken down into smaller entities.
Yes. The nucleus,
Now we have the
electrons.
concept of, the nucleus of the atom,
Yeah.
with the electrons that circle it, and that you have a nucleus, you have a neutron, and you have a proton.
Yes.
Okay, the proton, like brother's saying, that's a feminine energy. The electron, because of its movement, is a male energy. And the way in which the atom is constructed and the way the electron circles the nucleus, they said, wow, that's very interesting. So now let's come up to 1905 with Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein, theory of
Now we're going to
relativity.
come up with the theory, the two theories of relativity.
Yep.
The special law of relativity and the general law of relativity.
Right.
The special law of relativity deals with electromagnetism, and the general law deals with gravity.
Right.
And what began to realize is the special laws of relativity deals with the outer world.
The
The
big
heavens.
stuff. The big stuff. The planets, black holes, stars,
Out.
quasars. Yes, the big stuff.
Everything outside.
Yes.
But then they began to realize, well, wait a minute. Look at the way the planets revolve around the sun.
Right.
And they say, but wait a minute. We have laws for that. The laws of relativity, we have the laws of quantum mechanics. But is there one law that could unite the inner world with the outer world?
Right.
And that is what's called the grand unified theory.
Exactly. Grand
That
unified
grand
theory.
unified theory is the theory that would, as the electron rotates and revolves around the atom of the inner world, so too is that same formula is what makes the planets revolve around the sun. If that were the case, what we just talked about, Brother Zoe, that would be it. That there is only one God, one ancestor, and everyone is related to God, which means that each and every one of us is God having a human experience. If we understood that, we would treat ourselves differently. We would expect more from ourselves every day and demand only the best.
Right.
Be
And-
satisfied with only the best.
And shift from demanding it to commanding it.
That is it. That's it.
Listen, I just got to say this before we go on, because I have a couple more questions for the good brother. Brother, do you have a Cash App? Because there's a lot of people in here. I want them to show their support for you. I want them to show their love for you. And you might not want them to do this, but I want them to do this for you, because I'm deeply appreciative of this discussion. And I feel like it's going to inspire a lot of people. Do you have a Cash App that our people can hit you up on right now?
Yes, I do. May I say one thing before?
Yes.
I'm very much into business. I've always wanted to give something and get something. I do have Cash App, but what I would appreciate Cash App, trust me. Okay,
Right.
let's be real about that. I appreciate, but I would also appreciate if you went to my website
There we go.
at www.Kaba Kamene, KAMENE.com. On my website, I give the community my 6-day free e-course and a free study guide. And I have other materials up there. And in reality, there are materials I have that have a price on it, and there are materials I have that are 0+. Because Brother Zo and community, I feel what we're going through as a people. And I understand where we are financially.
Yes.
There are things I am dedicated to doing, and part of it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with getting this information out. However, if you are of a situation where you could give something, then it's there for you to be able to give something.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, if you do not, go for it. I got it free for a reason.
Right.
I want you to know it.
Right.
And so go to my website, get my free study guide, get my free e-course. And if you want to contribute, then there are places that you can contribute, and then I'm giving you something for what you're giving me.
Reciprocity.
Because I want to get us in a business sense of mind here.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
This is business. Black folk invented business. Black folk invented, and the root of business was not making money because money didn't exist. It was in communicating and learning each other.
Right.
And to me, that's a cornerstone. Business is and I like good business.
Yes.
I like doing good business with people that do good business.
Right.
I'll shout out your name everywhere, just like Brother Zo was doing with all of the different concepts and products.
Yeah.
I'll shout out your business.
Yeah.
Because I respect good business, and I always try to do good business. I try to give you things that are worth your time, because more important to me than your money is your time. Time is the most precious thing you have. You can always make more money, but there'll never be another March 21st, 2021.
Never.
You can't go back. You can't get it back. Whatever you did, you did. So you're just coming on this program is your most precious gift to me, because your time is valuable.
Yes.
And like I tell my students, I told my own biological children, I tell anybody that listens, I will never waste your time.
Right.
And I will never let you waste mine.
How about that? That's right. That's right. Please go to his website, www.Kamene.com. Please go
Now-
cash mob him.
Now let me answer your question.
Go ahead,
My
brother.
Cashapp,
Yes.
$ Kaba Kamene, capital K, and then lowercase ABA, and then capital K, AMENE 7. Kaba Kamene Kaba Kamene 7. That's my Cashapp.
There you go. And
Because I understand situations, alter cases, family. I know for Brother Zo and for the staff that's there in the studio, and even for yourself. Money is not the root of all evil. But I'll tell you this, money is a root of our emancipation and liberation. Because a poor revolutionary leads a poor revolution. We have to get out of this poverty mentality.
yeah.
It's going to take finances to make this happen, just by the nature of the way in which the society is set up. But
Right.
don't let that be your end all.
Right.
That's the means by which I want to get somewhere.
Right.
The money that I receive goes into my buying books or my going to different places to do different research.
Right. Right.
That's where my finances go.
Right. Right. Right.
And so it's important that we sort of kind of put all this in its proper perspective for folk to understand where we're coming from as a people. Because I love our people unconditionally. And Brother Zo, the more I study us, the more I love us.
Oh, no question. No question. Absolutely.
And
yes.
let me tell you something else. This last book, the last chapter of Spirituality Before Religions was why I wrote the book. See, I'm not a writer, so to speak. I don't write because I'm a writer. I write because I got something to say.
Exactly. Yes.
And so, to all of my sisters, I want you to understand there's a rise in the feminine energy.
Ooh. Yes. Yes.
There is the return of the Black Cosmic Mother. And this virus is part of the return right now. See, this is her letting you know, children, I'm on my way, and I'm going to fix what has been wrong for the past. Now, some people go back 400 years. I don't. I go back to 2000 BC when they first came out those mountains and wreaked havoc on the southern African world. Out there in India, those Indo-Europeans that came from the mountains and came down into India, they waged a 1,000-year war on the Dravidian African people.
Yes, yes.
A 1,000-year war, they were at war. And by the way, this is all they know. You know, when you study ancient...
Oh, no.
No, no.
No, no, no.
We didn't lose him, did we?
Oh, my God.
Oh, hell nah.
You know, people probably started getting his kitchen. And they probably
Oh, we got him. Okay. You broke up for a second. Finish saying what you were saying. They waged a 1,000-year war on the Dravidians.
The Indo-Europeans know who we call Aryans, which is crazy because if they really knew who Arius was, they would not choose that. Arius was a black bishop that was invited to Constantinople for the Nicene Council, but they were planning on killing him. And the brother got word that they were going to kill him. When he got there, so the brother and his followers raised up into the mountains of Europe. That was Arius, the bishop. He's a black man, and his followers were black. Can you imagine Hitler if he knew who the Aryans really were?
He
A bunch of fools.
He would have yanked his little mustache off. He would have been. Oh, that's right, man. Listen.
You know, we have to stop and wonder, why are we following these people off the precipice?
Because they feed us.
Well, you know something? I'm going on a diet.
Come on.
But when you eat the king's meat, you must dance to his tune.
Ooh. Which is more egregious, Dr. Kaba? Which is more egregious? The fact that the wealth gap exists, or the fact that our dollar only circulates one time before it leaves our community?
That's right.
Because you got a lot of brothers saying, I ain't got it, I ain't got it, I ain't got it, but as soon as they get it, they spend it somewhere else. Which is more egregious? Their active work to make sure that we are on the opposite end or the bad end of the wealth gap, or the fact that when we do get money, we don't spend it here? Which is more egregious?
I would have to say one led to the other.
Talk to me.
Because when the first one happened, the second one was naturally to follow.
Wow.
And so it's very difficult in any way, shape, form to say which is worse, because one led to the other.
Wow.
And once we get this together, family, once we really get this together and we really see, once we have that aha moment, that's what we call it education, aha moment, epiphany. Once you cross through that door and you see what's happening, you understand what's happening.
Right.
You'll have a Nat Turner effect. Nat Turner effect is when he was reading that Bible so much he believed it. But then when he saw what he was preaching and how Europeans were acting, he had something known as cognitive dissonance.
Tell us, come on. Tell us about it.
Dissonance, when you have come a long way believing in something, and then all of a sudden you come upon information that shows you that you've been on the wrong track all the while. There's a couple of things you do. You will either adhere more tenaciously to what you believe and refuse to believe the truth, or you'll throw that other garbage away and you'll embrace the truth. And you're going to make that choice. And we're looking at it right now. We see it right now. It's happening all around us. The truth is here. And no matter what they may feel about number 45, nobody could have done what he did.
Right.
Nobody could have done what he did. Nobody could have tore apart the Republican Party the way. There was no Democrat that could do that. There was nobody that could dismantle the very nature of America
Right.
like he did. Forever and a day now, we all are going to understand what happened Black Wall Street. He put it on the map. Because for most of us, we didn't know what Black Wall Street was. We didn't know what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then all of a sudden, when he did what he did, he brought attention to it. And all of a sudden, wait. But now, look at Juneteenth. We now know Juneteenth. There's been more programs on Juneteenth in 2020. Now, what I'm saying is this, and I've often believed this. The Creator demands that we keep our eyes open all the time. There's a brother named Lister Middleton wrote a poem titled On the Origins of Things. And he said, sharpen your eye and tune your ear so you know what you see, you understand what you hear. Minute by minute, hour by hour, as you lose your history, you lose your power. So sharpen your eye and tune your ear so you know what you see and that you understand what you hear. Sometimes the Creator puts the words that you most need to hear in the mouth that you least want to hear it from. I've learned some of my best lessons from people who I just did not want to listen to. And those lessons were my most precious lessons.
Oh my goodness, man.
I'm talking about folk that were absolutely opposed to me.
Right.
And did what they had to dismantle and stop whatever I was trying to do.
Right.
But the reason why I'm here today, successful, is because I listened to them. And I heard what they were telling me.
Wow.
I'll give you an example. I was going this was my first master's degree in history. This guy I was working with an arch racist, but he was the authority on Africa. So he was the one that had to oversee my paper. I submitted my paper all told 5 times. He failed me 4. He rejected my paper. I took my comprehensive exam. I took 2 language exams, French and Spanish. In translation, you got to translate passages in a foreign language when you go for your master's in this particular school. Everything was ready. He kept failing me. He kept rejecting my paper. And then the 4th time he failed me, I was going for my 5th. And he would never meet me in his office. He always made me go to his home. He never respected me. The things that he used to tell me, I would never tell another person. I don't care what their cultural background is. If you are my student, and I've had many students of European descent, I was as concerned about your knowledge as I would have been any of my other students. I believe that is the obligation of a teacher. And he told me things that were just not what a teacher that would be trying to encourage a young student to do or to be. He said bad things. I'll leave that alone for now. But one day I went to him. It was in the afternoon. He must have forgotten he was supposed to meet me. He had put a couple under, he had a couple Henny that day. He must have forgotten he was going to meet me. He must have had a liquid lunch. And this man was not drunk, but he was on the way. I could smell it. The moment I walked in, I thought it was a distillery. And there was one time it rained real hard. He wouldn't let me sit down. He made me stand up in his house and talk to him.
What?
Now, mind you, I need this master's degree for my license in teaching. If I don't get this master's degree, I'm going to lose my license.
Wow.
But that day that he had had a couple drinks, he said to me, you know, I have to tell you how much I admire you. Because if somebody did to me what I've done to you,
wow,
I would have given up.
Wow.
When he told me that, Brother Zoe, that was the ancestors talking to me. He gave me a boost of courage. He gave me a sense of direction and purpose that had he not said that, as horrible as it may have been, and as horrible as he treated me, I learned so much from him. First of all, I learned a lot about writing because I had to do it 5 times.
Right.
I learned that. But
Right.
I learned about who they are as a people. And I learned that a drunk mind speaks the truth. He showed me how fearful he was, because after I got my master, because then he failed me a 5th time. And then I brought him before the department on charges. They gave my paper to 3 people. And by the way, this is what I wrote. This is what I was writing about. My thesis was on William Leo Hansberry. I turned it into a book. I'm going to tell you something interesting about that.
He was trying to stop you. He was trying to stop you. He was reading that paper. He was trying to stop you because he knew if I give him this master's, he's going to go on to be even greater. Because you know how American society works. That little piece of paper, that master's degree, that PhD, that says something. That says this is an authority. He didn't want to make you an intellectual authority in the world of academia. He was trying to circumvent that. Go ahead, brother, finish.
That's it. But the point well taken. Well, he failed me another time. I brought him up on charges, and the dean of the social science department gave it to 3 independent readers. One from foreign language, one from anthropology, and then he read it. And I get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. Wake me up. It's this professor that is my supervisor. And he says, the 3 independent readers have decided that your paper is worthy of getting a master's degree. And he said to me, but if I can just tell you this, don't publish it. It's not worthy of publication.
There it is. If y'all don't go get that damn book right now, if y'all don't crash Amazon's website right now, come on.
And the last thing that he told me, and the last thing that I told him is, does this mean that I have my master's degree? And he said yes. I hung up.
Ashe.
Because that's all I want to know.
Right.
I ain't interested in no conversation with you.
That's right.
But I got to tell you, he told me something, he taught me something very valuable. That's what I mean when I say that. As horrendous as that experience was. Now, not only that, but this book also is my second master's degree that I did in education, supervision, and administration. So the beginning of the book is my first master's. The second part of my book is my second master's, because I wanted to let the community know how this man from Gloucester, Mississippi, actually developed the first African studies program at Howard University that he was in charge of from 1922 until 1959 when he retired. We need to know this man's story and what he did, because as I was doing research and being spoken to, the way in which I was spoken to, going through all of these dynamics, I could hear William Leo Hansberry talking to me, because everything that he went through, I was almost in a mini kind of way reliving with my having to write his story. Family, they don't hate you. Europeans fear you.
They scared.
They are scared, just like what you said, brother. He saw his replacement in the future. Because they were always the experts in Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now we becoming the experts in Africa. We have our Sheikh Anta Diop's and our William Leo Hansberry and our John Henry Clarks and our Chancellor Williams and our John G. Jacksons and Shashi McIntyre and Drusilla Dungy Houston. We don't need you. And what we found out is we never did.
Never did. Come on,
We
y'all.
never needed you. It was that illusion of white supremacy. But now we know that is an oxymoron.
Yes. Well, brother, let me just say this. On that note, let me just be honest, man. I love you. I appreciate you. I thank you for sharing. Anytime you want to come back on, I'm just a phone call away. We could do this whenever you want to do it, because I believe someone of your caliber, your knowledge, you got to be in front of people all the time. We got to be talking to you. We have to be learning from you. We have to be listening to you. Brother, you are a treasure, and I need you to be on this platform a few more times, man, just to keep reinforcing this information. I thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to say it again. Everybody hit his Cashapp and go to his website and buy his book at Amazon. Everywhere there's a link that connects you to him, whether it be IG, whether it be his website, whether it be Cash App, I don't care what it is. Go participate in numbers. Please support this brother. He is a great treasure to our community. And once again, I thank you, brother, for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity, Brother Zo. And I'm proud of all that you do and all that you are achieving. You are a change agent. And all those in your studio that make this program possible, you are change agents. You are changing the future.
Thank you,
and
brother.
I thank you. And together, we're going to make it happen, because we're going to keep on keeping on, because it ain't over till we win.
It ain't over till we win. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. So I'm going to wrap up the show right now. You can let the good brother Kaba go. Thank you so much.
Hotep family.
Hotep
Thank
family.
you for your time.
Yes.
Thank you to the audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep on keeping on.
Thank you. So let me just wrap this up real quick. It's not about who you like to listen to, as the brother said. Those lessons come from everywhere. I told you guys about a book, a particular book written by Dr. David R. Hawkins. And listen, I know white folk take from us and recontextualize our spirituality and turn it into white science and white academia. I know that. This damn book called Power versus Force created a spiritual grid. On one end, 0, the lowest conscious number. On the high end, 1,000. And something very powerful that was written in that book. Dr. David R. Hawkins said, if anybody comes to you with information that's resonating, now mind you, look, his power grid says 50 is shame. And then there's apathy, and fear is at 100. And then the neutral space is at 250. But when you get to a conscious level of 500, they say that consciousness level is love, right? And of course, 1,000 is enlightenment. He said, if the devil, that's what he said in the book. He said, if the devil came to you with knowledge that vibrates at 500, you should accept it. But because you've been indoctrinated and conditioned to not accept shit from or knowledge or information or insight or wisdom from anybody that you have labeled as less than or not as smart or whatever label you put on them, you sometimes miss out. They might be oppositional to you, right? They don't think like you. They don't vibe like you don't vibe with them. I don't like their voice. I don't like the way they look. You might miss out on that one nugget that could be transformative to your life. We got a lot of work to do as a people, and we got to do it together if we want to see change, if we want to see transformation in our community. I love that brother because, like he said, I don't ever want to waste his time. He came here, he took his time out to come here to speak to us. So I urge you guys to support the good brother. Also, listen, get us to that 500 mark of pre-orders. If you haven't done it, please do it. Pre-order my forthcoming book. It will drop this June, right? 2021. Please go to theshroudedlighthouse.com. Also, follow me on my new Instagram. Thank you, Yogi Fish. My old Instagram was hacked and taken over by somebody. And I've been trying to get it back. I've been reporting the site or reporting the Instagram account that took over my old Instagram. They got all, if you following my old page, that ain't my page no more. Please go to my new page, which is at HRH Mr. ZoWhat. Please follow me at HRH Mr. ZoWhat. Go to theshroudedlighthouse.com. Can I get everybody to push through? Go to theshroudedlighthouse.com. Push through. I know they said the website is slowing down. Hey, people are attacking me from all over the place. People done attacked my debit card. People done attacked my website. People done attacked my IG. People have been attacking me from all over the space. And I don't know, and I'm saying, this is random. This kind of stuff never happened to me before, and it's all happening in a matter of a couple of days. Somebody don't want me to win, but I need you guys to overcome whoever that somebody is. Please go to theshroudedlighthouse.com, cash mob, cash mob, cash mob, and then, like the good brother said earlier, please support Sarah. Sarah got to go to work from here. Please support Sarah. She come here. She rock with me on all these damn shows. Please support Sarah. I mean, it's over 500 people in here. If everybody sent her $1, that would really shift her life. Am I lying, Sarah? That would help her out a lot. If you could spend the money on this fly jacket from Ramomar, because believe me, I get your emails when y'all say, hey, Zo, I haven't gotten my order from Ramomar yet. Can you reach out to him? I say, yeah, send me your digital receipt. I hit him up. He go, oh, yeah. That shipment hasn't come in yet. It's still being manufactured. It'll be out in the next couple of days. You go spend all that money on a Ramomar jacket, but all of y'all collectively can't give Sarah $1? I think it's only right. I think it's only fair. Please show that girl some love. $ Sundays with Sarah. Please support her. I thank everybody for being here. I thank everybody for coming in and rocking on this show. This was a powerful show. Y'all want to see the back of this jacket, by the way? Since I'm talking about Ramomar, this jacket is cold. Ooh, this jean jacket, cold. This new fly Ramomar gear, cold. Don't just support Ramomar. Support Total Package Energy. Support X-Wolf. What's the new coffee company? WritersPause.com. Support them. Support the CMOS business. Right? Get all of the books. The Relationship Dismount. Get all of Dr. Kamene's books. Please support these businesses, man. Make that dollar go around in our culture more than just one time. In our community, more than just one time. All right. I'm done. I love y'all. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Zolo Mansions Thursdays. You might get a Zolo Mansion. You might get a Voice of Reason. But we appreciate having the caliber of guests that we had tonight. I am mind blown. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Zo Williams. Deuces.